What's up, and welcome back to another day of YouTuber. Today I want to talk about pretty much the idea of having going through a rut, having a breakdown, or just feeling any kind of weirdness right now in 2020. If you've been watching a few of the YouTuber videos, you might actually know this, but I myself just went through this really weird, it was almost like a burnout period slash rut slash just weird pitfall almost. And as much as it was definitely more intense in those few days, I feel like this has been something that's been kind of slowly happening. It tends to loom in the blind spot. You feel it, but you push it away. And that thing could be anything. For me, it was definitely burnout, which mostly it just kind of felt like a bit of a mental breakdown, if anything. And I think mental breakdowns are kind of different for everybody, but either way, I feel like that's happening a lot and it's very common right now, and it's happening amongst people I know, people I'm talking to. You guys on here are telling me you're feeling the same way. And so once I started to regain some energy, I took to the internet and to my therapist, but I wanted to dig into this. It makes me feel like I'm taking a bit of the power back by getting curious about the things we experience rather than feeling debilitated by them. But mind you, there were a few days there, I feel like it was much aware. I was pretty debilitated by it. I didn't want to get out of bed. I didn't want to be on my phone. I didn't really want to be around anybody. I just needed to basically free fall into the rut or the pit or whatever was happening. Something that I found super interesting is an idea that was pitched by Jim Carrey, where he said depression is basically our bodies asking for permission for some rest from who we've been trying to be. Breakdowns of any kind where you just feel like everything falls apart. When we talked about it just sitting there in the blind spot, it's like we resist and we resist and we resist for so long that sometimes it really does take a full-on mental breakdown to break through and to be like, yo, slow down, stop what you're doing, sit the fuck down and let me speak to you, let me show you what's wrong. Underneath that break, that heaviness, that grieving, that icky period is the breakthrough. It's the freedom, because you're running away from the thing, but the thing is just the doorway to what you really want, which is to put all the weight down. Pitching yourself the idea that breakdowns can actually be a good thing, that it's giving you the opportunity to take off the mask you've been wearing for so long, to let go of whoever you've been trying to be, whether it's in society or at work or with your friends or with your family or even with yourself. It gives us the ultimate chance to really start over and to put everything back together again. Once everything crumbles, it's then you can take the blocks and put them back in a better order. There's still a lot of shame around mental health in particular. If somebody breaks their arm, nobody gives them that sense of you're crazy now. But if you struggle with mental health, and if you have a breakdown of any sort, if your life falls apart in any kind of way, or you fall apart in any kind of way, we assume people are gonna think that they're gonna distance themselves because as if a mental illness changes the value of a person. So what exactly are the signs that we might be going through a rut, that we might be feeling like we're breaking down, that we might not be ourselves lately? Your day to day, you don't really look forward to anything. It's almost like you're just trying to get through your day. You're looking forward to going back to sleep at night. You're just kind of feeling dull, and I feel like that is a huge thing right now in 2020 because life changed so quickly. There aren't as many external factors to give us that sense of, things to look forward to. A lot of people are just trying to get through right now, so I feel like this one makes a lot of sense. Do you want to be creative? but you feel like your juices are just on empty. You're like an empty battery. It could be the hobby of music. It could be the hobby of art. It could be creating moments, creating, you know, whether it's baking, anything like that, anything that you love to create, but you just kind of feel like you don't have the energy for it. Third is checking off to-dos every day, but still feeling like you're not really getting anything done. Number 4 is kind of like number 1, but it's all of your days start blurring together. When you do finally have some free time, it's almost like you're too tired or unmotivated to really do anything you enjoy. So you end up kind of stuck either watching TV that you didn't even really want to pick that show, or kind of scrolling through your phone, and just not really feeling motivated to use your time to do something creative or hobby or anything of the sort. Feeling like you're constantly complaining, or maybe you're sick of constantly complaining, of feeling stressed and tired and just overall unfulfilled. Even if you think you would be happier with some simple changes, you also feel deep down inside, even if we don't always admit this part to ourselves, that it's kind of easier to just stay the same or to just continue doing what we're doing. Hence why these ruts and these darker periods in our life can either extend on for a very long time, or we resist them and push them away and allow ourselves to kind of go into this weird numb period in between. Or worse, a high anxiety period, because you're trying to hold on and resist this thing so badly. Hi. So I feel like it's important talking about mental health to distinguish the difference between depression and being in a rut, because they are two very different things. I mean, I'm not a doctor. I can't say who has depression and who doesn't, but it could just be a rut period because of all of the external factors that are causing this. But at the same time, I feel like it goes without saying that feeling these things have a lot of similarities. They're not the same thing. I mean, you should speak with your doctor if you feel like you actually are struggling with depression, seek out therapy, so on and so forth. But you can also seek out therapy if you're going through a long rut too. Being in a rut is knowing that you're stuck in a set of behaviors or habits that you know if you just put in a little effort, you could change by shifting some of those behaviors and habits through your habits. Being depressed though is not feeling like you're stuck in a set of behaviors or habits. It's literally feeling like you just no longer care about your behaviors or habits. Like you don't really feel a sense of, you know, fulfillment through anything. I have been diagnosed with depression, and I don't take offense when people say that they are feeling depressed, even if they're just in a rut, but I know that that is a sensitive thing. It's hard for us to distinguish what somebody is going through. I feel like we need to believe most people when they say they are. I don't know. Why are we going on this tangent? I feel like when people talk about things like depression, maybe even if they're just going through a rut, it's breaking the stigma more. So I think it's important that we're educated to the differences, but I really don't see the big harm in someone believing that they might be going through what is depression versus, you know, what is a rut. I mean, that's at least my opinion. And this is my channel, so I get to say my opinion. But you can have a different one. So what can we actually do about this feeling, specifically in 2020? Okay, and this component is important, but there's something I first and foremost need to say from experience, is that you can do nothing. You can truly and honestly give yourself permission to do nothing. This has been a struggle for me this year. My therapist keeps on being like, don't try to fix it. And I'm like, what do you mean don't try to fix it? If I feel this way, now that I've sourced out what I'm feeling, I should work on making myself feel better, right? And she's been just trying to break it into me in every different way to like, no, you should just let yourself feel however you're feeling. Because that's where, in my opinion, a sense of empowerment comes, of just being like, this is how I feel. And I'm not gonna force myself to feel better. I'm not gonna force myself to smile and fake it. I'm not gonna force anything. I'm just gonna feel how I feel and allow myself to feel that way. And I do think that there is a lot of empowerment in that. That isn't to say, I mean, don't do anything about your mental health. Definitely seek support, which we're gonna get into those steps, but I just don't want this to be like how to get out of a rut. It's like, no, how to manage being in a rut, and little things that you can do maybe to work yourself through the rut. But we don't want to just get out of it, because that puts us back into resistance mode. We want to stay in the rut and work our way through it. We want to be able to manage this rut so we can learn what we need to from it and move on to something different. I'm not talking about depression here. Specifically with these things that you can do, they are going to be helpful if you are somebody that suffers from depression, but this is different, working your way through a rut, than working your way through depression, and I gotta say that as well. So 1, do nothing. 2, move your body. It's like the complete opposite of doing nothing. And this does not need to be huge. You don't need to jump into some crazy exercise plan. Guys, I feel like specifically if you're suffering from mental health, it is an accomplishment to go for a walk. And I know that it doesn't feel that way and you're gonna feel silly allowing yourself to feel that way. But if you get your damn ass out there and you go for a walk when you're struggling through the heavy depths of whatever it is you're struggling with, give yourself a metaphorical or a literal like pat on the back, because that's a lot and it does a lot for your body. A lot of the times being stuck in a rut or struggling with mental health, it is mental. And if we can get back into our bodies in any kind of way, whether it is through going for a walk, getting a massage, a yoga, like anything that puts you back in your body and out of your head is definitely going to help. And it also creates a little bit of wiggle room for you to start thinking of creative new things and ideas. And honestly, if it wasn't for Bentley and having to walk him every day and having that incentive or motivation or like reason to go out and walk every day, I would still be laying in bed. And it's because of those walks where I wasn't trying to feel better, but it gave me ideas while I was walking where I was like, this is a different way to look at something, or maybe I could try doing this. And it helped a lot. A body in motion wants to stay in motion, a body at rest wants to stay at rest. But not only that, exercise actually puts us into our alpha brainwaves. What that means is if you want to picture like a current, or if your brain were a radio and you're constantly tuning your brain, then when you're going for a walk or you're getting any kind of exercise, you're tuning into your alpha brainwaves, which is associated with having lower states of anxiety. It's tuning into a current that your brain rolls on that actually helps you come out of high anxiety mode. Okay, so now to completely contradict myself, the next thing you could work on or think of trying is a dopamine detox. This is a idea that I actually was introduced to just back in September, and I've been waiting for November to roll around so I can take my dopamine detox when I take my break. But what it is it's talking about the bad shots of dopamine. So if you think of dopamine as like a happy pill, okay? When we go for walks, we're getting a natural sense of that happy pill. But our brains, like especially when you're living in the year of 2020, when we have things like social media, you can order a burger and fries and just like boom, it's here. And the things that are put into those burger and fries are meant to like enhance the taste, which enhances this like dopamine effect in our body. I mean, it goes without saying, alcohol and drugs also fall into the dopamine, criteria of things to detox from. So does caffeine, so does watching TV. If you really wanted to go all out and completely do a dopamine detox, you would even take things like music out of your day-to-day life. But I don't know, I feel like I draw the limit at music. It's resetting your dopamine receptors back at zero. It's like completely rebalancing yourself, and it allows us to have those smaller hits of dopamine, like going for a walk or just even having like a small little thing that feels good makes you feel way better than when your dopamine hit intake or like indicator was way up here. The next thing to keep in mind when you want to manage your rut is to start small. If you get out of bed after a few days of feeling like you just don't want to leave your bed, give yourself a pat on the back for that. Like, it doesn't need to feel like a pitying pat on the back either. Nobody needs to know that you're celebrating these small wins, but small wins are huge. Getting back into your life little by little is exactly the way you should do it. You don't go from being stuck in bed all day to just completely cannonballing back into a crazy routine, a crazy schedule, a crazy amount of responsibilities and workload. The next one is to seek out your support system. Isolation right now, especially right now in 2020, is one of the most detrimental things that is happening to a lot of people out there. It was happening before 2020, but I feel like it's even more potent right now because we're not meant to go through life alone. And I feel like, and I feel for any of you guys out there that struggle with anything at all and you're by yourself, like you're doing it, but you're doing it to the 10th degree because there's nobody around to absorb that or hold you or just pick up the little things, even to just make you a tea because you're feeling low. And that is huge, okay? I did a coffee talk this year on loneliness and it literally shook me, but also woke me up to the literal loneliness epidemic that's happening worldwide. Again, I feel like I'm not gonna go there. go watch that coffee talk if you want to talk about that. But seek out your support, whether it is, you know, the people you're bubbling with, whether it is a friend, whether it's a sister, a family member of any kind, booking more regular therapy as soon as you have your breakdown. Like, and that in a lot of ways is you showing up to support yourself too. And you are a piece of your support system. So show up for yourself, schedule video calls with your friends if you can't see them, and treat yourself, especially I'm speaking to those of you guys that are living alone and doing life on your own right now. Treat yourself the way that you would treat a friend that was going through this. Make yourself some tea, you know, take care of yourself, and also seek out friendship and family as well. Even if it's just one person, it'll make a huge difference. And the last thing I'll say in terms of managing feeling down, going through a breakdown, or being in a rut in 2020 is, we're kind of going full circle here, but it's my belief that everything that happens to us or for us in life is either a blessing or a lesson. And if you've been having a lot of lessons, I understand how frustrating that can feel, or how almost kind of like irritable. You might be waiting, you're like, when's the next blessing? But if you've been going through a phase of lots of lessons, like, I don't want to go as far as saying like to be thankful, but in a way, it is a lot of really good, valuable information. Every emotion we feel, everything we experience as human beings are information. Sadness usually means some sort of loss. Feeling stressed, anxious, fearful is having a lack of security or a lack of resources to tackle whatever it is that's in front of you in life. Fear is unsafety. Anger is feeling wronged or attacked or threatened. Even boredom is information that's telling you that you're feeling unsatisfied or disinterested. It sucks to be in a state of learning lessons, but it's also some of the most powerful work you'll do in your life, because this is the making of who you are. And if you can understand that your breakdown is a breakthrough, then you'll be able to feel more thankful for the information that this lesson is teaching you. When I finally let go, I finally just like threw all my metaphoric papers up in the air, sat down in the middle of the mess, sobbed a little bit, slept a lot, and then woke up, it was like, okay, I feel like I have a fresh slate now. Like, it's like, I felt like my ego took its hit, my everything just shattered, and I stopped caring. And from that point, I could see what I was holding on to, and because I let go, what I could now shift into if I was willing to take this information and use it and get back up. And ultimately, underneath it all, that's where your self-love is. That's where your self-acceptance is. That's where the piece of you that always knows and understands and has always got you, even when it feels like the world is against you, or like nothing's working, or you're so confused, or you're not sure which way to go, or you're stressed out, or you're freaking out and everything crumbles. It's like, as soon as you stop resisting and lean into that and allow it to happen, you'll see it. You'll understand, oh, okay, here's what I'm learning. This is what this is telling me. I think I want to try this, and I have a fresh new slate to start with now. So I know in particular, 2020 is a very difficult year globally. I feel like if you're gonna ask me my opinion, which again, this is my channel, so I get to state my opinion. I'm literally just reiterating that to myself, by the way, so I stop feeling like I shouldn't state. Anyway, I feel like the world is going through a global awakening in a lot of sense, whether it's with social media, the state of our ecosystems, consumerism, even the political stuff. I mean, man, I live in Canada, but it's, I'm like, I see how even people like, even when I go to family gatherings and stuff, we're talking about like the US election, racism, all of it. I feel like globally we haven't talked about any of these things, so we're waking up to a lot of these things. And all the things that everybody feels uncomfortable talking about, you know, in Charlie Brown, where he's like, 3 things I won't talk about with people are religion, politics, and the great pumpkin. Like, yeah, it's not comfortable, but it's almost like our world is having a breakdown too. And if we were to take everything we talked about today and metaphorically transfer it onto our global breakdown right now, I mean, there's a lot of information to be learned here. There's a lot that all of us are seeing the truth of now, and we're able to start over, start fresh, and hopefully make great change because it's clearly needed. As much as it's hard to keep the faith, I think especially because we've been in this for so long now, keep in mind that our world was in such denial about so many things, and a lot of the world still is, and so it's taking a slow breakthrough to happen over an extended period of time. You can't, the amount of time it takes for one person to have a breakdown, you need to amplify that globally. And again, it's hard to look at it this way, but blessing or lessons, we're getting lots of lessons in 2020. Not so many blessings, but who's to say that these lessons aren't going to eventually be the seeds for the fruition of future blessings. Just hold on to that. That's just for any of you guys that are feeling really hopeless about the state of the world right now. We're in it, we're in the thick of it right now, so it's easy to feel that way. Just like when you're in the thick of your breakdown, you feel like you're gonna feel that way forever. And then all of a sudden, you have those seeds and you plant them and you start a whole new cycle. And hopefully this whole new global cycle will be more balanced amongst all of these things, all of these important things we're talking about. Anyway, I'm gonna go because I've been rambling your ear off, and I hope you guys got something out of this. We still got a few more YouTuber videos to go, so I'll see all of you guys in the next one. Bye guys.